Hey guys, in this video we're going to flesh out the patrol behavior from the last video. We're going to add more variety to our characters and we're going to randomize their outfits and also add a character spawner that will create a number of characters and have them patrol around our little village. In the last video we created this villager who patrols between these three flags. Let's open the behavior tree of the villager. So with the villager selected, I can go to the behavior tree component and hit open, or I can go here, tools, Observe, behavior designer, then editor. And here I have the behavior tree of my character. I said previously that designing NPC behaviors is an iterative process. And what this means is that you don't have to think about all the edge cases and everything you need in your behavior at first and try to implement all of that at the same time. So you go at it little by little, you implement something basic, then move on from there. So instead of patrolling between these flags in the same exact order every time, we're going to mix it up and make it randomized. For this, we can use a random sequence. So let's stop the game. Here, if I hit space, then go to composites, I have a sequence, but I also have a random sequence. So I'm going to create it here. In Behavior Designer 1, we had a replace feature. I could right click on this sequence, then replace it with a random sequence. And I contacted Justin, the developer of Behavior Designer Pro, and he assured me that they're working on bringing back these features and adding some exciting new ones, because most of their work was on the actual optimization using dots, and they also made sure that the system was stable and free of bugs, which is, in my opinion, very important. So these small features here and there will come with time. So right now we have to actually rewire this sequence to replace it with the random sequence. But if we do this here, it's not going to work because we have a mix of wait and go to object actions. And the random sequence will execute these in a random order. So it may execute all of these wait actions one after the other, then all of these go to objects one after the other. So the order is randomized. To have more control over this, what we're going to do is we're going to parent each couple of go-to objects and wait under a sequence, and our random sequence here will actually randomize between these sequences rather than all of these actions. Okay, so let's do it. I can just duplicate this, Control D to duplicate the sequence, and I'm going to reparent this and have it down here. Then let's do it again, Control D, and I'm going to reparent this and have them down here like this, and then let's duplicate this sequence and reparent these two tasks. So I'm going to delete this sequence with my delete key, and then let's have a random sequence here and let's rewire it to all the children. Okay, let's zoom out and let's minimize this window. Let's put it right here and we're going to test it. So let's run the game. Now our character will move to a random flag every time. And this will be even more apparent if we duplicate our peasant. I'm going to select him and hit Control D a bunch of times. So you can see that each character is going to a different flag. Perhaps let's also increase the arrive distance to a flag, so we don't have our characters fight over the location. Okay, let's go to our peasant. And here, let's go to the go-to object and let's change the arrive distance. We can actually create a variable. Let's call it patrol arrive distance. It will be of type float. And we're going to set it by default to like 3. So when a villager is 3 meters away from a flag, they can stop. And here in our actions, let's use this variable. So let's select our first action, go to object. Here you get to see why it's useful to use shared variables. Since this is a simple float in our script, I'm not able to actually use the value of my variable here. So I'm going to right click here, then edit script, go to object. And this is my script. So here I have arrive distance as a simple float. I'm going to change it to shared variable of type float. And this is it. Now we should be able to use shared variables from the graph or from the scene in here. And by the way, in the last video, I completely forgot to say that our actions need to actually inherit from action. So the principle of shared variables uses what's called encapsulation. If you send a float to another object and ask them to change it, that object will have a local copy of this float. The behavior tree is going to send our goToObject action this float. And let's say this object changes the value of that float. So actually, we're only going to change the local copy of the arrived distance. However, if that float was inside of another class, then this arrived distance will actually be a reference to the instance of that class instead of just the value. So if we change the value field of arrived distance, it will change inside the behavior tree as well. So this principle of encapsulation, I talked about it in the first Game AI Mastery series, and we saw how important it was. With it, we can have tasks in our behavior tree, share data, and modify this data. So you can have a bunch of tasks working on some data, then sending it over to other tasks to process. So actually now we can't use arrived distance as a simple float. So in our hasArrived method, for simplicity's sake and also to have something clean, let's create a variable. Let's call it distance. This distance will be the distance between the destination and our agent's position. And let's say distance. So we have arrived when the distance is lower than arrived distance, but we actually have to use that value. Again, go back to my first Game AI Mastery series. If you follow the series to the end, then this stuff will be child's play for you. That's all we have to do. Now let's go back to Unity. Okay, now if I click on this action, so if I click on this dot, I can choose patrol arrive distance. Let's do it again for this one. Let's click on the dot, then choose patrol arrive distance. And let's do it here as well. Clicking on the dot and choosing patrol arrive distance. All right, so now we can modify this value in the inspector. The arrive distance, let's set it to 4, for example. Okay. Okay, so now our character stops 4 meters from every flag. If you want to measure the distance, we can use this ProBuilder texture. Every square is 1 meter. So this is roughly 4 meters. We can increase it even further. Perhaps 6 meters will be better. Let's try 6 meters here. Okay, let's see what our villager does. Okay, so he stops at 6 meters. This is good. So let's duplicate him and let's see how a bunch of characters will act together. Control D a bunch of times. Okay, let's see. Yeah, so they run into each other a bit less with a greater stopping distance. So this is good. Okay, now let's work on the list of flags. Last time I said that for simplicity's sake, we're going to use like just a bunch of variables. So instead of using individual variables for the banners, let's go to the scene. We're actually going to create some variables in the scene. So let's go to the scene and create a variable. Let's call it patrol waypoints and let's hit add. And we're going to choose game object, but actually I'm going to choose array, not singular. Okay. So now we have an array, and here you will notice that on my scene, Behavior Designer has created this shared variables object. So this is documented in the official documentation. You can read about this. So this object is in your scene and will be used by every behavior tree that needs access to the variables in the scene. So let's populate this list. Let's choose a size of 3 and perhaps let's grab this inspector. Okay, so let's populate it with our flags. Okay, so we have the list of flags here. I'm going to close this. Then let's go to our behavior tree. So here, instead of using the singular variables, what we're going to do, let's go to actions. And here we have an action called random game object. Let's click on it. So when I click on the action, I get this inspector. So here I have the list of game objects. Since we want to grab the list from the scene, let's click on this dot. And here, if I click on this drop-down menu, I get the option to choose scene. So these are the variables that are stored in our scene. And I can choose patrol waypoints. So this action will take a random object from this list and will store it somewhere. So we needed to store it somewhere. Let's create a new variable. Let's call it next patrol waypoint and hit add. Let's choose game object. Now this action will store the result inside of next patrol waypoints. We can also choose the seed, so that's up to you. Once we've chosen the random game object, then we can go to it. So here for the destination, instead of going to banner 1, we're going to next patrol waypoint, and then we'll wait. So here no need to even have this random sequence. We can delete everything here. And let's reparent this sequence to the repeater. Okay. So you can see that our tree is much simpler. We'll also make this inspector much simpler by removing all of these banners. So I'm going to delete all the banner variables. And now on our behavior tree, we only have the patrol arrive distance and the next patrol waypoint. So let's test this. Let's run the game. All right, so this is working. Then I'm going to duplicate my character. All right, so our characters are patrolling randomly between these points. So now what we can do is actually increase the number of these flags. First, let's make them smaller because I believe they're a bit big. So I'm going to select them all and choose a scale of 0.5. This is enough. Okay, let's duplicate them. Let's have one over here and one over here. And then perhaps let's have one over here. And let's move this one to this edge and this one to the other edge of the map, like this. So now they're spread out nicely. Let's move this one over here and this one over here. So let's go to our scene shared variables. Then let's add the new banners here. We have 6 banners now. So let's type 6 here and let's add them one by one. Okay, so I've added them all here. Let's close this. Let's actually work on spawning peasants. So what I'm going to do first is save this prefab. Let's create a new script. Let's call it pawn spawner or pawn manager. Okay, this is our script. Let's put it in the tiny village namespace. We'll need a pawn prefab. So what this class will do is it will spawn some pawns at the start of the game. First, we'll need a prefab. Then we need a list of spawn points. So this is a list of transforms. Then let's create a patrol count variable. This is the number of pawns that are going to be patrolling the small village. Then let's define the start method. And to keep things clean, let's actually use a method to spawn a new villager, spawn patrol pawn, with the position as parameter. So the rotation around the y-axis will be randomized. So let's get it using random range between 0 and 360. Then we're going to call instantiate with our pawn prefab at our position defined here and using quaternion Euler 0 rotation 0. In our start method, we're going to iterate from 0 to spawn points.count -1. Let's define a position and let's call our spawn patrol pawn on that position. So to get this position, let's actually use a method that would be cleaner. Let's call it get random spawn position. What this method will do is get a random spawn points here and return its position. So let's get a random index between 0 and spawn points.count. The second parameter is actually exclusive. So here this method will indeed return something between 0 and this value -1. Then we're going to return the position of the spawn point at index. So let's use this in our start method. Okay, let's assign the position to get random spawn position. Then let's pass the position to our method spawn patrol point. Okay, let's go back to the Unity editor. Let's add a new empty. Let's call it pawn manager. I'm going to put it at the top. And then here let's add our pawn manager script. We need to provide a pawn prefab. So let's go to content, then get our peasant prefab. And let's choose a bunch of banners to be our spawn points. It doesn't matter. We can just have 2 spawn points, for example. I'm going to run the game. So our script is working. It has generated 10 pawns plus our pawn that we already had in the scene. So that makes it 11 pawns that are patrolling the area. You can see that with big arrive distances and more waypoints, they have less chances of running into each other. I want to give our characters a bit more personality. Let's open the hierarchy of our peasant. So Polygon Blacksmith did a great job with the characters. So here we have different bodies and I'm going to toggle between them. So to quickly enable or disable a game object, instead of having to click on this check mark, you can use Alt-Shift-A to quickly toggle an object. So let's toggle a different body. So here we have a lot of bodies on each character. And also for the heads, So here, let's click on the head. Here we have a head container with a lot of head meshes. So let's disable this one. And here we have another one and another one. We have a ton of heads, plenty to choose from, like from villagers to warriors to kings, etc. So what we're going to do is create a simple script that will have the list of heads, the list of bodies, and also the list of weapons, and it will switch between them randomly at the start of the game. So for the weapons, we have the right hand container. Here we can have a hammer, like all sorts of weapons, a crossbow, an axe, a lot of possibilities. I believe we also have a left hand container. Let's open the left clavicle, the left upper arm, the left forearm, the left hand. Yeah, here it is, the left hand container. So we have some bows here, a short bow, a long bow. And for the shield container, we also have some shields. Yeah, so it would be good to have shields as well. Okay, let's go to our folder. Let's go to scripts. Let's create a new script. Let's call it Pawn Outfit Randomizer. I'm going to put it in the tiny village namespace. Let's have an array of heads, bodies, left hands, and right hands. Let's have a method, select random, that takes an object array as parameter. We're going to pick a random index between 0 and object's length. Then we're going to use a for loop. We're going to loop through the objects. If I is equal to our index, the object at index I will be set to active. And this is enough to choose a random object from this array of objects. So in the start method, let's use our method with all our objects here. Okay, so let's call our method on heads, bodies, left hands, and right hands. So here I have these as public, but we don't have to. It's always good practice to use serialized field as much as possible. Okay, this is much better. Now let's go back to Unity and let's actually initialize these arrays. On our pawn object, let's add a pawn outfit randomizer. I'm going to right click on this, hit properties to grab this inspector. This will make it easier for us. Let's expand these arrays. Okay, so let's go to the heads first. And we have to make sure that the active head in the scene or in the prefab window is going to be among the list of heads here. Otherwise, we may enable two heads at the same time, which will look weird. Okay, so let's choose some heads. So this one is pretty good, so let's add it first. Okay, so let's hit Shift-Alt-A. And let's choose this one. This one is also good. Let's see this one. This one looks like George Costanza from Seinfeld. Okay. Yeah, this one is also good. Let's check out C. Yeah, this one has gray hair. Nice. Down here we have people who look more like soldiers. So I don't want those. So let's limit our list to these people. Okay. That's enough heads, I think. Now let's pick some bodies. I'm going to click on this body twice to get to the container. Let's just pick all of these. Yeah, let's just pick all of these bodies. Okay. Now for the left hands, let's go to the left hand container. I'm just going to pick all of these shields. And then for the right hand, yeah, let's just pick everything. Okay, now we're done. Let's run the game. Yeah, I still need to apply the changes on the prefab. So here, let's go to my peasant and let's hit overrides. Let's hit apply all. Okay, let's go into play mode. Okay, so you can see that our characters have been randomized. Let's go to the pawn manager and let's increase the patrol count. Let's set it to like 30, for example. So we have a lot more characters on screen. All right, so check this out. We have a lot more diverse characters, all wearing different shields, different weapons. Yeah, that looks pretty good. And it adds a lot more personality to our game. Check out this one. He's running around with the shield and the crossbow. This one too. So this is funny, okay?